social distancing,
small groups,
reacting to the unexpected takes a lot of knowing.
self-quarantine.
This is Money Talks.
We're back. I'm Troy Harmon with Casey Smith and Logan Daniel, and we've been talking about various aspects of financial planning, and we do have quite a few questions that we want to get to today, starting with Tyler from Atlanta, who says, I took a withdrawal from my Roth IRA this year, and I'm wondering if there's any provision in all the coronavirus-related legislation that would allow me to put that back into my Roth.
Yeah, so there's a couple of options that he has. I mean, it doesn't say how old Tyler is or whether why he took the distribution from the Roth, but presumably it was just a regular distribution. I don't know if he's 59 and a half or not, so it could potentially be taxable. A portion of it could be taxable if he's taken out before 59 and a half, or subject to a penalty if he's violated a 5-year window that you're allowed to take some of the growth on that money.
Within the 5 years it's established, is that the deal?
Correct. So
Yep.
there's some unknowns here that we are not sure, but generally speaking, if it's a regular Roth IRA, his only options would be to roll it over back into the Roth within 60 days. So you can do that one time per year, where you can do an indirect rollover and basically put the money that you've taken out of a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA and put it back into the account as if it never occurred, basically. And then the other option is with the CARES Act that passed earlier this year in March, you can do what's called a coronavirus-related distribution. If you were impacted by the virus in any way, meaning you either had the virus, somebody in your household had the virus, you were caring for someone who had the virus, your work was impacted, in other words, you weren't able to work or were furloughed or what have you because of the virus, all of those would be qualifications to be able to take up to $100,000 and classify that as a coronavirus-related distribution. You can put that money back into the account within 3 years, and essentially the same thing as the 60-day rollover. In this case, it's a Roth, so there would be no taxes or anything like that owed. If it was a traditional IRA, it would be taxable ratably over those 3 years while you're putting it back.
All right. So
we've also seen clients with an inherited Roth IRA, which you do have distributions. They are tax-free anyway, but you have up until August 31st to roll that back in if you want to.
Yeah, that's a deadline that's coming up here at the end of the month.
And that was part of the CARES Act.
So, I mean, we're talking about a Roth account that was inherited from probably a loved one, I assume, that handed it down to you. And the details around that, you have to recharacterize it to a taxable account, meaning you have to take money out over what are the details in that?
It's before 2020, it was based off your lifetime.
Okay.
Now it's over 10 years.
Okay.
So there are required distributions. Any inherited IRA account, whether that be Roth or traditional, that was inherited prior to 2020, you have to take required distributions based on your remaining life expectancy, meaning the beneficiary. And so,
but if that changed at the end of last year.
Now you have to do it within 10 years. You can either do it every year or at year 10. This as long as it's depleted by year 10.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the Roth, does it really matter that much as far as, I mean, it's not taxable when you take it out. It just becomes taxable.
It becomes, I mean, I guess the only benefit would be tax-deferred growth, potentially.
Tax-free growth.
Tax-free growth.
Yeah, so you'd probably push that to the end as much as possible.